Today, I'm putting new Upstream oxygen sensors in this Toyota Sienna. So, here's the one oxygen sensor Upstream. I'm gonna let you figure this one out, because that's easy. So, one thing you will need to do Upstream oxygen sensors is this tool. I'll put a link in the description, but this is just an oxygen sensor tool. And I did take the cover off here just to inspect. You can go from the top, but you have to take the intake manifold out. But I'm going to try from the bottom. It's really tight, but I think I can do it to get the oxygen sensor out. All right, here we are underneath. Here's the exhaust. This here, that is not the oxygen sensor we're after. It's back there. Way up there. There, now you can see. So that's the one we want. Let's see if I can fit my hand up through there. Unfortunately, I don't think I can video this very effectively. Okay, so I got the wrench up in there. You can see that's where the oxygen sensor is back there, and I got the wrench on there. I hope you can tell exactly how I did that. It's so tight. So once I got the wrench up in there, I just took a pry bar and stuck it against here, like that. And now the oxygen sensor is loose. So now I'm going to see if I can find the wires, which are up there. You can see that. And I need to disconnect those. Okay, so I couldn't get it disconnected, so I'm going from the top, which means need to take the air box out. 2 bolts, one here, one on the other side, same place. This port was modified, so I disconnected this hose at this junction. Take this hose off. I took this hose off of that side so I could just get it out of the way, which means we also need to disconnect this. That connects, well, just a clip. And this here is connected. There's also to there. It's also clipped in the back, but we'll need to get that unclipped when we take this out. Loosen this, take this hose off, and now we can pull the air box out. And then we can get back here. Oh, and there's this connector here. This wire connector to the mass airflow sensor. We can disconnect, we'll unclip that and pull the air box out. I'm gonna stick it over there. Now wait a minute. Did you notice that? It was dripping oil like crazy. Pull the air box out. Unfortunately, I noticed this after I had poured oil all over the front of the engine. This car rolled onto its side, actually, which means the oil went from the oil pan through the cylinder walls and out the intake, which I hadn't noticed until I took that off. Notice this box here? That's what was filled with the oil. Let's get back to replacing the oxygen sensors. While you're in here, take a look at your air filter. This is pretty dirty. Okay, so now we're taking this off. I've already loosened it up. There are 4 hex bolts. See those there? It takes a 5mm hex and then 10mm nuts on each end. What did I disconnect? I disconnected this hose. Where does that go? This hose. That hose. Let's move this out of the way. This hose was disconnected already. Disconnect this hose, disconnect that connector, and then there are 3 bolts on the back, 12 millimeter, 12 millimeter, 10 millimeter. Actually, I don't know if I actually needed to remove this one. Turns out I actually didn't need to remove that, and it was just holding on one of the hoses. But those, 98% chance you will get frustrated on those. You can't really reach them. But yeah, I'll show you more when I get this out. Okay, so there's a bolt coming through the other side of that. And over there, same thing. So those are what's gonna frustrate you. And now we have back here, what help was that? Well, can I get a light? Where is it? Well, there's the connector. We can reach it. I don't know if that was actually easier. Okay, I got the connector disconnected. This is it. It was down there. And I pulled it off, pulled it up here. Not quite as far about there, and I was able to disconnect it. You will need some long pliers to help you with this. And now I can go back underneath and pull out the oxygen sensor. I finally got the oxygen sensor out. To get up in there, I had to take off my coveralls because the sleeves were too big. It would get jammed. And I had to just go in there with my bare hands, unscrew it, which was very cold, so it'd be preferable to do this in a warm temperature because it's hard to do with gloves on or with heavy sleeves. Okay, so I got the oxygen sensor in down there. I did it from the bottom. I had to remove my coat so I could fit my hand in there, and it may have been possible to do it from the bottom. It might have been easier than removing all this, but man, that connector is so hard. Either side, I don't know if it was possible to do it from the bottom, but it was definitely easier once I took my coat off, which is kind of sad because it's freezing out here. But now I'm just putting this all back together. I'm gonna just leave it up to you guys to figure out how to put it back together in reverse order because I am freezing and I don't want to video anymore. So hopefully you learned something. Just a couple more thoughts. If I were to do this again, I would do just from the bottom without taking off all the manifolds. What was evading me was that if I took off my coat, I mean, this sweater's fine, but if I had taken off my coat, then I would be able to reach in there much easier. That thought evaded me in this cold weather, so yeah, so if I did it again, I'd just go from the bottom. It'd be more of a pain to get that disconnected, but if you put in all the work of getting the manifolds off, it would be easier. So that's that, and thank you for watching.